Okay, guys, welcome to our team call. I have some visitors who I am staying with right now, and we're just going to talk a little bit about something that we talked about earlier today at this workshop that we've been at in Tulsa this weekend. So I want you guys to think about, well, first off, before you're thinking about this, if you do not have pen and paper or pen and pencil or something, it does not have to be a formal notebook, but just grab something to write on. If you're listening to this later, grab something to write on because I want you to be thinking about two questions. Okay. Who were you before you decided to become a coach? Or, some of you guys who might listen to this later, because I am going to share this in the challenge group. Who were you before you made the decision to start anything with Beachbody? What was your life like? What kinds of feelings did you feel all the time? So just be thinking about that and write it down, but also be ready to share it with the rest of us, because I want you guys to hear where everybody else has been and to hear where I've been, to hear where these other two coaches who are from kind of like they're like our sister coaches, so to speak, in our downline, hear where they've been. But then I want you to think about the answer to this other question. The second question is, where are you, or who are you now? Even if you're not where you want to be, what's changed for the better? Because something's changed for the better that's still making you show up every day. That's still making you show up the way that you do right now. Even if you maybe don't show up the way that you think you should or whatever, like it's not perfect, you're still here. You're still listening to this. You're still on this team call. So that's a good thing. Like there's something that shifted, and it's something that you need to be aware of, because if you're not aware of it, you're not going to know how to share it. So thinking about the answers to those two questions. And then when we're having people talk, I want you guys to take notes. So I'm going to give you guys like 5 minutes, for like not even 5 minutes. Just like take a few minutes. Everybody think about your story, write down your own story so that you're ready to talk about that. But then when we get going, everybody's going to get maybe 5 minutes to just share a snippet of where you were before and where you are now. And everybody's going to take notes on each other's story. Does that make sense? Okay. My hope is that we'll have enough time and we'll be able to then go around. If we were all in a room, it would just be like we're in a circle. And if I'm sitting next to Tracy and I went first, then the person who's sitting on the other side of me would be taking notes, and they would have to tell me my story. I would be listening to Tracy's story, and I would have to tell Tracy her story. So maybe we should assign, because we're not in a circle, maybe we should assign who we're going to take notes on. Because then you're not just taking notes on everybody. Hold on. Okay, so I don't mind going first. I'll just get it out of the way. And then I guess let's just do like Tracy, you take notes on me. Elizabeth, will you take notes on Tracy?
Sure.
Okay. And then Emily, I want you to take notes on Becky. She's back here in the corner. You can't see her yet. And then I'm actually going to like flip flop that, I think, because I think then can Becky take notes on Emily? Would that work? Does that get everybody? No, Becky would need to take notes on you.
Sure.
You? Yeah, I think. Because I'm taking notes on Tracy. Tracy's taking notes on Elizabeth. Elizabeth's taking notes on Emily. Emily taking notes on Becky. Becky taking notes on Elizabeth. Is that right? This is really complicated when we don't actually have a circle.
Just remind us when it comes back.
I know. I might need to write that down. Okay. So. Hold on. I'm going to get here. While I'm like logistically figuring this out, you guys write down your own stories if you have not yet, or write down a couple key thoughts if you need to. Danae to Tracy. Okay. Okay, I got it. I made a circle. It doesn't look like a circle on my paper though. That's okay. So I'm gonna be taking notes on Tracy. Tracy's gonna take notes on Elizabeth. Elizabeth is gonna take notes on Emily. Emily's gonna take notes on Becky. I think that's Becky. Yes, it's backwards. Becky's gonna take notes on me. I think that makes sense. Yeah, I think that covers everyone. So that should be good. Okay, so who was I before I started coaching? So I was a new mom, like a brand new mom. And I was coming off of like a summer, a really hard summer of postpartum depression. And I didn't really know how to take care of myself. I didn't know it was possible to take care of myself and be a good mom at the same time. I thought that if I was exercising and if I was just like doing things that were taking care of me, that it would make it so that somehow my son wasn't getting taken care of. And that made me selfish to do that. And so I had a really hard time kind of finding the balance between how can I be myself and take care of myself, but also be a good mom. I struggled a lot with just feeling inadequate and feeling happy in the moment. I had this kind of, I don't know if you guys saw my post today, but I had this mentality of just like, when I get to this next point, then I'll be happy. When I don't have postpartum depression, then I'll be happy. When my kids sleep through the night, then I'll be able to do XYZ. When I can exercise and I've lost 30 pounds and fit into these pants, then I'll, feel better. I had this like, if this happens, then that will bring me happiness. And it took me, honestly, it's taken me a pretty like good 2 years of my journey to really recognize that what I was saying when I would say like, that doesn't make me happy, needed to be true on the inside and the outside. Like they had to match. They weren't very congruent. So who am I now? What's changed? I'm a lot more confident in the way that I present myself. I am a happier mom. I still am a very impatient mom sometimes, and I get angry at my kids sometimes because I'm not perfect. But I know how to work through some of those situations with myself. I know how to get myself out of a hard situation. I know that I'm capable of doing hard things. Like, I am capable of doing hard things. And so with that, like, you guys know what's been going on. Like, I just had a miscarriage. I had surgery for a miscarriage like last week. And emotionally, I've had a lot of ups and downs. I've had a lot of uncertainty in the last 2 weeks. And I think that 4 years ago, if I had gone through this, I would not be able to handle it the way that I'm handling it now. Like, I don't think I didn't have the emotional stability then that I do now. I didn't have the mental tools, so to speak, the mental health tools to handle something like this and not let it completely derail any and all of my ability to function. So I feel like that's where I am now, is I'm in this place where I know that if I get hit with something, I get hit with some kind of a challenge, even if it's not one that I'm expecting, that I can get through it just because of what I've done physically. I've overcome so many different things physically that I didn't think I could do, like doing insanity. I never thought I could do insanity, but I did. And I survived. I'm alive. So like just doing all of these things, overcoming all of these different challenges that I have as a coach, just with my physical fitness journey, with my emotional fitness, it's all kind of culminated to where I'm at now, where I feel like I can make that decision kind of ahead of time a little bit of like, if I go through something hard, I know I can get through it and I can still show up and I can function and I can become better for it, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like, I feel like my story in a nutshell a little bit. So, okay. Those are also some of the things that I've already done. Okay, so I want you guys just kind of recognizing some of that in your own stories. So, Tracy, are you ready to go? Hold on.
At me? Okay.
Yes, I got you.
Yes, just a sec here. Okay, here.
Wait,
Go.
sorry, I have a question. Do we do one story and then feedback and then another story and feedback, or all the stories and then all the feedback? I thought it was one and one, but that's gonna, I don't know if we'll get to one of them at the time that we have.
Let's do one and one next. I don't she heard.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, do you want me to? I could try and. I mean, I
you can like try and paraphrase, like
try and model.
yeah.
Okay.
Just come back. So this is kind of what we're trying to, I guess, explain really fast. Is we want you guys to listen to somebody else's story and then say it back to them, because you need to hear your own story from somebody else. Does that make sense?
And kind of their observations, maybe not like quite in the same words. That's what I'll try to do.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so what I heard is that you are incredibly strong, and I'm gonna cry.
You're gonna make me cry.
And just the perseverance that you have, and I think that's one of the really beautiful things about this business is just that it brings out qualities within us that, I mean, it was always inside you, right? But it just maybe would never have been brought to the surface. And so, yeah, I just think to be present the way you are, and to be showing up for your family and your team, even in this time of real, just tremendous difficulty, like the fact that it's allowed you to be emotionally present in a time like that. That's what I really took away from it. So I just, the fact that you're sitting here telling this story, and the fact that you're here tells me that you're a great leader, because I know you're not like stuffing down the feelings either. You're going through it, and you're still here.
And yeah. No, you guys, I probably have cried today like at least 3 times. It's been a lot of crying, but it's okay. Thank you. You want a hug? I know we can't hug each other like in
I was just
the
thinking
computer. That sucks, but we can
virtual
do our
hugs.
best. Virtual hugs. Okay, so Tracy, now you're gonna go, and Elizabeth is gonna listen, right?
Do you want
do
me
you
to do another one, or do you want to
sharing?
assign someone else, or you can do it, or
You know what? I don't mind doing it.
Yeah,
I'll just do
okay.
Tracy. Okay, hold on. Actually, can I have you do Tracy really fast? Because
Sure.
my husband's calling me.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'll be right back. I'm gonna step out. She's gonna talk, or Tracy's gonna talk, and then
Yep,
she's
and I'll
gonna
listen. We'll all listen.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so before Beachbody, I was a new mom of 4. So I had just had my 4th baby about 9 months before. I had suffered an ectopic pregnancy a few months before that. I have dealt with 2 prior miscarriages between my 3rd and my 4th. So there was a lot of hurt and anger that was left, feeling of unworthiness, feeling like because I may have made bad choices that was the reason, that was the reason why I couldn't continue to be the person that God intended me to be, being a mom, right? Or carrying children. And then it was like a quote unquote punishment because I wasn't doing things right. Okay. And prior to some of this, I had went through a divorce. My first 2 children are from my first marriage. So I went through a really rough marriage, and trying to understand that a lot of those things were choices that I couldn't control, and having to accept that I could do the best that I could do. And at the end of the day, I could either continue living in a lie and continue living the way I was, or I could make a choice and be okay with walking away and doing that I could do the best that I could. I've always felt, by being a mom, I work full time, that I have to be perfect. I have to be perfect wife. I have to be the perfect mom. I have to be the perfect coworker. And feeling like I've got to always take care of somebody else. I mean, that's just my natural personality is caring about everybody else. And if I care about everybody else, then I can push all of my insecurities aside. I can push my own feelings of guilt and inadequacy away, because I could basically justify because I'm taking care of everybody else. I can make up that difference, right? So then kind of after now who I am with Beachbody is understanding that I don't have to be perfect, and that I can choose to say, you know what, this is what one thing I did good today. Everything else doesn't really matter, right? Understand that I wasn't being punished, that the things that have happened in my life are part of life. It is part of being human. It's part of the experience. It's part of being who I am, and understanding that by me taking 20 minutes out of my day to listen to some uplifting music or uplifting motivation or any of those things will allow me to refill my soul, if you will, so that I can be a better person and not feel like I have to be perfect, that I can give myself more grace, even if I don't work out every day. If I understand my emotional eating habit triggers when I get anxious or overwhelmed, I can understand, okay, what can I replace it? Why am I feeling this way? And why do I feel like food has to be that replacement? Right. And understanding that I don't have to take care of everybody else, that I have to take care of me, and then I can take care of my kids. Then I can take care of my husband. I can also have patience to give them the attention they need. And I can ask them the right questions to help them feel a worth and a value, instead of being angry with myself and degrading myself because I does that make sense? Kind of my story in a nutshell. Trying to also which allowed me to try and my mom, as a child, stayed with a man who is just so unhealthy all the way around, and trying to understand and be, that's my mom's choice. I have my choice to live differently, but what can we meet in the middle and find some common and still get love, give her love of you without jeopardizing my integrity. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And Beachbody has given me that opportunity and given me that understanding day by day.
Yeah, I love that. There's so much that was good in that. So what I heard is, well, among other things, I heard that you learned to forgive yourself and to do what you know is right for you and your family, regardless of what anyone else might think. Is that right? Yeah, and that's so amazing. That's a huge lesson, and that you're setting an example for your kids that, you know, you didn't have the opportunity to have that example set for you. You know, in a sense, you're breaking a cycle, and that takes a lot of courage. So, well, I think you did a wonderful job telling your story, and definitely is tugging at my heartstrings. All right. So,
Hey,
is
sorry,
it?
I'm trying to grab Tanya and Julie and get them on if they can get on. But okay, thank you, Tracy. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the rest of yours because the children had to tell me about what did they need to tell me about. My grandpa or my dad lit his fire today in the fire pit, and they were like, "Grandpa lit fire
That
today."
is the coolest thing.
Coolest thing ever. Okay, so now Elizabeth, it's your turn.
Do you want me to go, or do you want
To share
do you
your
want
story.
Emily to go?
Oh, wait,
because
you know
I
what?
just don't want us to run out of time.
Yeah,
so
you're right. Okay.
I'll go.
Okay,
I'll go with
Emily, let's
myself
have you go, and I will listen to you.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I want Tracy to listen to your story. I know I'm
Okay.
really screwing this up, but Tracy, listen
Yeah.
to Emily's story and take notes.
Well, Tracy, you did a very good job. I'm actually extremely nervous to do this. There's a lot of things that I don't share. As a teen, I was diagnosed with major depression and generalized anxiety disorder after a suicide attempt. And I was about 13 at the time. So I have been dealing with depression and anxiety ever since. I've been on and off medications and therapies and everything else like that. Had postpartum with all three of my children. After several years of trying to convince my husband to have another child after our first, I suffered a miscarriage. Was difficult. So, Danae, I know what you're going through right now, because I was about 10 and a half weeks when my body decided it couldn't go on anymore. in that time I still had a horse, and I just remember laying on my horse because I couldn't do anything else. So I completely get it. The sad thing is, before all of this, before I really started, I thought I was okay, that I had gotten to a point where I was okay with my depression, my anxiety. We were getting through, like, it wasn't perfect, but it was okay. And then Alex, my middle child, was diagnosed with pretty significant ADHD. And in fact, we think he might even be on the autism spectrum. And I went in to meet with his therapist for a parent conference. And the first question out of her mouth was, "How is your depression and anxiety?" And he said, "Clearly not good if you have to ask me that question." And instead of it being this whole talk about how I could help him and how I could parent him better, it became more of, I really needed to help myself before I could help him. And I really needed to look at the issues of my depression and anxiety that I had never really dealt with before. And I still have a hard time going that dark because I don't want to be in that place that I was when I was 13 years old. But I'm getting better with that. So that's where I was at. I thought I was okay, and it was made very apparent to me that I was not okay. Since joining Beachbody, I feel a little bit more alive. I have gotten back on medication and have come to the conclusion that I will always have to be on medication, and I'm okay with that. And that was a very hard thing to accept. But I'm able to feel alive in my body a little bit more. I'm able to turn on music and dance in my kitchen and play with my kids like I wasn't before. And I wasn't so just done with life by the end of the day. Like, it literally was a matter of, I got up, took care of everybody, and then I came home and went to bed. And I didn't have any other energy for anything else. And now I have so much more energy that it's kind of a gift. That's about all I got right now.
I muted myself. I'm sitting here like, hey, all right, Tracy. So what did you hear from Emily?
A lot of things. In some aspects, I heard a lot of myself in some ways. Depression, anxiety is definitely not fun. And I heard that, maybe as you were going through things, just a sec, son. What? I'm on a call. What, sweetheart? What? In a little while, after you go in there and finish watching your movie. Sorry. That you've come so far in the way of being able to understand this is who you are, and accept that it's not going to get better. That's just who you are. But you've been able to accept that and be able to find ways to deal with it, be able to feel energy again is huge. Be able to accept the fact that you have to be on medication instead of hiding. I'm assuming you probably felt like you had to hide, and maybe putting on a mask, which may be part of the reason why that teacher asked about your own depression, is you were trying to hide it, and by taking care of everybody else, you're kind of keeping busy to stay out of the darkness that you may have felt as a kid, and that you recognize when it gets dark, and you don't want to feel that way. And so by who you are now in Beachbody, by having the energy and being able to dance, allows you to give more to your kids, allows you to ignite who you are, and allow you to continue to push through when each day is hard with your kids. Each day is hard to make it through, but being able to have that energy and be able to see yourself in a way that you may never have before allows you to have that motivation to keep going and to take one more step and give what you can and understand what your limits really are. That's what I've heard. And I've heard that try not to cry, so I apologize. I heard that you felt that darkness and you want to stay as far away from it as you possibly can. And whatever you can do to stay in the light, you will do. And that's huge. It's huge.
And you're doing that, Emily. Like, I see you showing up on your stories. I see you showing up on your page. You're doing what you can to, like, basically build your own living Patronus. Like, I know I talk about that all the time. I'm such a Harry Potter nerd, but like, you're doing that. And Harry didn't have Professor Lupin do the Patronus charm and say, like, this is just how you say it. Do it once. You're going to do it perfect the first time. He had to try for months and months. And it wasn't until the moment finally came that it was like, die or do it, that he had to do it. And all of the practice came back, all of the things came flooding back to him, and then he was able to do it. But he had put in the work. And right now you're in that point of putting in the work, and it counts. Even on the days that you don't feel like it does, it counts. Okay, Elizabeth or Becky, either one of you, like, I feel like if we can fit in both of you and just let them listen, even if we don't give you guys tons of feedback on your own stories yet,
Sure.
like, we could just do that individually here. But I just feel like they need to hear your guys' stories. If you can, like, do
So
it
I'll
in
try
4
and do
minutes.
mine short, and then I guess what I would say is, so, like, think about how that felt receiving kind of someone else's version of your story, and maybe take some notes on what you would say to me if we had time. But you won't have to actually tell me. Okay, so hi, I'm Elizabeth. I won't go into the whole bio, but I'm from Wisconsin, and there's a few different angles that I could come at my story from, but I actually want to kind of start with a point when I was already a coach, but then I'll kind of explain how it ties into who I was before Beachbody. So sorry, okay, I gotta go fast. I see the timer. Okay, so in 2014, I went in for a routine surgery for endometriosis. It was supposed to be laparoscopic, and I almost bled out during surgery. And it was a really long recovery. And I was so sick at the beginning. Like, I had to learn to walk all over again, like going from completing insanity to, like, I need a person on each side of me to, like, take steps down the hospital hallway. And then getting out, I was on dialysis. I had kidney failure. I was out of work for 3 months. And I think I'm someone who's prone to depression, and that's been much better since I've been exercising and feeding my body properly. But I think an experience like that could have been enough to just completely crush my spirit if, Beachbody hadn't been part of my life when that happened. So I had joined as a coach in 2013, less than a year before that happened. And I think one of the things that it did for me is kind of going through that of, like, I couldn't, like, sit down on the floor and get up again. Like, there was a pretty severe level of disability, and it really gave me, it made me less afraid of working with people who had chronic conditions and disabilities and things like that. And it was like, I was no longer afraid of, I understood that, like, you do what you can, you start with taking one step and you build up from there. So in terms of who I was before Beachbody, I think just having all of the tools at our disposal, like not only the workouts and nutrition plans, but personal development and the community, and just the tools of, like, how to pick ourselves up emotionally when we need it. All of that was really, really crucial to recovering from something like that. And it just, like, I started with Tai Chi once I could actually, I could walk around the block, and then 3 blocks, and then I started Tai Chi and built up from there to PiYo. And it's like, I realized the programs that we have were, like, the perfect thing to walk me through that recovery. So I just feel really fortunate that Beachbody was part of my life when that happened. So I'll stop there.
The same thing you said said to me about you, you were like one strong, dedicated, enduring person. Okay, so I know we only have 4 minutes. Can you do it in 4 minutes?
Sure.
Yeah.
These are 2 of my coaches. Yeah. So this is Tracy and this is Emily.
Well, awesome.
This is Becky. We're all over here.
Hi,
It's like 9
ladies.
o'clock.
Hello, hello. Okay, so super nutshell. I have like 4 minutes. Is that what you said? Oh,
Yeah,
3:30. Okay, so I'll just do it in a nutshell super fast. So, before Beachbody, I was just going through life. I have 4 kids right now. I had 2 at the time, and I was just severely struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts. I am surrounded by suicide in my family. My brother took his life, my cousin took his life, my uncle took his life. So it's just been kind of surrounded in my family, and it's been really rough. Depression is in my family too, and some things in my past had actually caught up with me. I was sexually abused as a child for years and years and years, and I didn't tell anybody about it until I was 18. And now I think I was like 27 at the time, and it just kind of caught up to me, and I didn't feel like I was enough. I wasn't a good enough mom. I wasn't a good enough wife. I really struggled with valuing myself, and things kind of spiraled. And if you've ever had depression before, you kind of look at the world through a pinhole, and things that matter to you don't really matter to you anymore. And it's just really, really difficult and really hard. And so one day I decided that I was going to take my life, and I planned I was going to do it on a Saturday. And I'm like, hey, this is the day I'm going to do it. And so I knew that was my last week. I'm going to cry. I planned out my last week, and I had been trying to get pregnant for over 13 months, and I was on Clomid, and I was doing everything that I could to get pregnant, and I couldn't get pregnant. And so, what's up?
You're fine. Just go
Okay. There you go. Oh yeah. Okay. Back. So I had planned to take my life on a Saturday. And like I said, my husband and I were trying to have another baby. And due to things in my past with the sexual abuse and stuff, it's really, really hard for me to get pregnant. So I was taking Clomid, which helps you ovulate, helps you to get pregnant, and it jacks up your hormones like crazy, crazy, crazy. So after like 13 months of taking Clomid and feeling like a super crazy person, I decided I just didn't want to feel crazy more. Plus I was having depression set in, and everything mentally was just really, really hard. So I had stopped taking Clomid, and it had been a couple months. I'm like spitting all over your computer. That chocolate is making my mouth water. And so it was like the Wednesday before, it was actually Halloween. Wednesday before, I was feeling kind of different. So I decided to take a pregnancy test, and I was pregnant. Like divine intervention, there's no coincidences. If you see my posts, we can become friends later after this video. I talk about my girl, she's 3 now, and I talk about her, and I say that she like saves my life, because she like literally saved my life. I would not be here today without her. And so I knew, now that I was pregnant, I knew that I couldn't take my life. I couldn't do that. And when you're, and you say, but Becky, you had 2 other kids and you could take your life then. And you have to understand that when you are going through such terrible depression, like I said, your vision of the world and of life and what matters and what's important, it's like looking through a pinhole, and it doesn't matter. Now I can see, like, I have and had so many things to live for, but in that moment, you can't see that. And so I knew, I'm like, okay, so I have 9 months. Like, I literally have 9 months to get my shiz together, to figure out what's going on up here, so this doesn't become an option when my daughter is born. And so I knew that I couldn't change up here immediately. I knew I couldn't change it. I knew there was some grooves and definitely some difficult pathways and road maps that have been forged in my brain. ever since I was a kid and growing up, and the way I thought about myself, the way I talked to myself, the way I viewed life, everything like that. I've been doing it my whole life, and I'm 27 years old at the time. And I knew that was going to take some time in order to reroute and rewrite. And I knew I couldn't change it overnight. So first thing I did was I signed up to go see a therapist. Well, first thing I did is I told my husband and I told my father, and I said, hey, I was going to take my life, but I can't now because I'm pregnant. And the second thing I did was go see a therapist, start talking with the therapist. And the third thing I did was I got a gym membership. I was like, I can't change what's going on up here, but I can change what's going on here, how I feel about myself, how I am physically, everything like that. So then I started going to a gym, and I went every day for 9 weeks, and I absolutely freaking hated it. Like I hated it. I dreaded it. It didn't feel good when I worked out. It hurt. Everything was really, really awful. And I had pregnancy too. So I knew I wasn't going to be getting like results because I was pregnant as well, but I knew that I needed to change how I felt about my body. And it took 9 weeks for me to like not dread it anymore. It took 9 weeks for me to start seeing a little bit of change in my body, to feel healthier, things like that. And, you know, in between all of that, my pregnancy came through or whatever. And then, you know, I came upon my coach who talked about Beachbody, and then I just knew, I was like, this is my platform, this is my thing. I need let me back up. The only reason why I kept showing up to the gym and I kept going with my dad and all of that, because one, I knew I needed to change what was going on inside my mind. But at the same time, I went because how it made me feel, and I went because I knew my dad was counting on me to be there, to be his workout partner. And we would go every night at 5 p.m. And then when Beachbody came into my life, I was like, this is like the perfect platform for me to be that gym person for somebody else, for me to show up for them, to know that I'm counting on them to show up. And then also I knew I needed the accountability to keep going with the health and fitness. And I knew that I could share my story and inspire others, and have them know that they can move mountains as well. So now being a Beachbody coach, compared to before and you know, before putting health and fitness in my life, it has done a complete 180. I used to get really, really bad seasonal depression. And so it's that time of year, right? It's starting to get really cold. It's October, and I'm like, okay, like it's supposed to start setting in and stuff, and I feel it, but not to the power of that it was before. And I know, talking with therapists and working on my mindset, which we do through personal development, and then also doing the physical exercise every day, those are tools that help me combat my depression. And I know that I won't get back to that deep, dark place that I had before. I feel now that I'm, you know, a coach through Beachbody, I feel like I said, it's a perfect platform where I can raise awareness for depression and suicide. And it's a perfect place that I can also financially help, you know, my family. And before, there wasn't that hope for financial freedom and things like that. And with Beachbody, it has completely provided that for me. And there is hope in so many ways in my journey that has completely changed. Hope with, you know, battling my depression, hope with financial relief, hope, you know, that my body can change physically, because before, being a mom of 2, and I just had the mom body, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I just had the mom mindset that went with it, and then I was trapped, and this is just always how my body's going to be, and I'm just going to have to learn to love myself and accept myself for how I am, and I can't be like that lucky mom that just bounces back so fast. And you know, I learned with Beachbody that is absolutely nonsense. Like, you can have and do whatever the freak you want to do. And so having Beachbody has completely changed that for me, and has opened, you know, the ceiling for me that I can and do and have whatever that I want to do. And so, yeah, amen. I guess.
We, like what we did with the rest of everyone else, is we tried, now that we have a little bit more time, we like told everybody what we heard. So I guess like we can just, like Josh said, like we just like kind of explain that. So we already went through everybody else, and so I think we just need to really kind of reiterate your guys' stories. Okay. But like, I mean, I guess just listening to like your story, I hear like just this insane journey from someone that, you know, you probably dreaded being in the morning to just like you feel like you have a way to talk about that you've overcome that to a point that you feel like you can talk about it and you can help someone else who might be going through the same thing. You can't necessarily be their therapist, but you can show them there's hope for you because there was hope for me. And I found it and I went with it. And they ultimately like just that courage to just like, okay, like you kind of described it earlier in the elevator, but you just were like, I had a 9-month time bomb, like, and you used it and you did everything you possibly could to really like, I mean, yes, of course, like the timing of like you getting pregnant with your daughter saved your life, but at the same time, you saved your life because you figured out what to do in that 9 months, like even before she had all the way, you know, gotten here all the way.
Right.
And so I feel like that's like a huge strength to recognize like in yourself.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. And like, I just think you're amazing. I'll just minimize that. It's just like, hey, your old recording is done.
Oh, yes, nice.
Yes,
I
good.
always forget to record
And I
those.
have to like merge these together. And then like Elizabeth, like when Elizabeth was talking, I don't know if this is just what I heard, but you guys are welcome to chime in. I just seriously, like I heard someone who went from kind of being at the top of their fitness game, kind of when you started Beachbody, it sounds like you were like one of those, like you had maybe been doing Insanity, you were into fitness, you're like, sweet, Beachbody, this just makes sense. And then life hit. And then something crappy happened and you were in this like horrible physical, hard situation where you literally were brought to like square zero, like ground zero, and you had to build up one little tiny step at a time. And your journey through having to take all of those tiny steps, like from top or from bottom back up to where you are now, and even just all of the stuff that I know you deal with now, like you did it. You did it, and you're helping other people do that too. And so I guess my whole thing for wanting to do this team call and like share this with you guys and have you guys listen to each other's stories and then tell each other what you heard is because we don't see our own accomplishments. We don't. We tell them, but we don't see our own accomplishments. We don't hear the same things in our head when we're talking about our story that other people hear. None of us said anything about any of the other people we listened to that was exactly the same wording or exactly the same interpretation of their journey, their story, as any of them said. Does that make sense? So here's an affirmation. If you guys do not have a notes section on your phone somewhere, like make a notes section on your phone and title it affirmations. Because if there's anything I've learned in the last year and a half with like working with Josh, just with like talking with Micah, it's that if you don't fix your programming about coaching, about the products, about whatever belief system you have right now that's holding you back in your business, then like your programming is going to keep you there until you fix it. And so affirmations is what helps you combat that negative programming. So you guys, you don't have to do anything you have not already done. So any of the things that you've already done, all you have to do is go help one other person do one of those little things. So if all you've done is invite 50 people, then go encourage one other person. Like I know Tracy, you had this like mass inviting phase and you like invited a ton of people. Go help one other person have the courage to do the same thing about their own journey. Someone who would potentially be a good coach on your team. Maybe they sign up as a coach right away, maybe they don't. But go help one other person do something you've already done. To start working out 3 days a week, to just like start building some of that confidence. Think about the little things that you've accomplished thus far as a coach with your own fitness journey, with your mindset, whatever it is that you've done. And you just have to go help one other person do that. That's literally all coaching is. So the affirmation that I wrote down from Josh earlier is I don't need to help anyone do anything that I haven't done yet. So if you have this fear of like, well, how can I help a challenger if I haven't lost 30 pounds yet? You don't have to. You don't have to help a challenger lose 30 pounds. If you've lost 3 pounds, you're just helping a challenger lose 3 pounds. That's it. Okay. So I don't need to help anyone do anything I haven't done yet. I just need to help them do what I've already done. So that's like kind of the programming that I feel like all of us, I feel like we all struggle with this on some level, whether it's in leadership or in just recruiting to get challengers, or just inviting and getting one person to even want to do Beachbody on Demand with you. Like whatever your limiting belief is, it all kind of stems back to this idea of like, well, how could I do that if I haven't been successful yet? You don't have to be successful with the bigger thing. You just have to have been successful with what you have already done. And all of you have done something. You've overcome something hard in your life, and you can help one other person to do that. That's what coaching is. So, okay, that was really like all that I really wanted to cover tonight. I have so much other stuff that I would love to cover, but I'm not gonna I don't want to keep you guys up for a million hours. And I hope this was like fun and just enlightening for you and inspiring just to hear like from Elizabeth and Becky, because I feel like just being around them, like of course in person is so much fun, but even just hearing their stories, like I hope that made an impact for you guys. And for anyone else who's listening to this later, like I really just hope it makes like an impact and shows you like if they can come from where they've come from, what makes you think you can't? Like Josh said something earlier today. He said, what makes you the exception to the universal law that you can achieve anything if you put your mind to it? Because all of us have this base human worthiness, and we have to accept that worthiness and not let the naysayers from when we were a kid, or you know, our spouses saying, well, are you sure you can make money with that? Don't let that hold you back. If this is something you feel like you can make a difference with, then do it. Like that's your job, your calling, your obligation, your responsibility, whatever you want to call it. Like that's your responsibility, is to find the person you were meant to help. It might just be one person who really, 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 really needed your help. And you won't even know it if you don't put yourself out there and you don't do the things that are uncomfortable and you don't do the vital behaviors. So affirmations, absolutely important. Last thing I wanted to cover, because I've been trying to like cover it, and so hopefully this like nails the thing on the head. Print this, please. Go print this. Corporate gave it to us. It's really good, I promise. All of the top coaches from Beachbody pretty much got together and put together a business tracker that has the 4 vital behaviors. So here's your 4, and it breaks them down into what does your power hour look like? And it has 20 plus 10 is 30, 55, 65, 70. And it's about a 90-minute period of time in your day, if you do all of these time limits, that it recommends you spend on your business. You can break it up, you can piece it into pockets, you can do whatever you like with it, but do these things every single day and don't stop doing them. Because doing these things every single day for 4 years is how I've gotten where I'm at. Doing them every single day for 5.5 years is how Micah's got where she's at. Like, it doesn't stop. If life happens, you do the bare minimum and you just keep going. Like, I hope if there's anything that I hope that I've kind of shown you in this last couple weeks of going through my own miscarriage is Micah shared a quote that I love it. It was awesome. What did she even say? It said, it's okay to struggle, but it's not okay to let the struggle pull you under. And I know we all struggle, like literally every single one of us struggles with something, or we have some new struggle that comes up because life happens. But you don't have to let that struggle pull you under and keep you from doing the things that can help you in your life. Like for me, with going through this, just everything with this miscarriage and the emotions that come with it, I had to choose to show up and do the hard things that were good for me. Because the hard things that were good for me are what's helping me stay out of feeling bitter if I see a baby, or feeling upset and mad when I see somebody's pregnancy post that's supposed to be the same time as mine. Like I feel like I want to not feel bitter towards those people. I want to be able to feel compassion and love, and just like, I don't know, I just don't want those kinds of negative feelings to overcome me. And so I'm doing everything that I can. And for me, coaching helps me to stay in that mindset because I'm focused on helping other people while at the same time helping myself. Like I fill my cup first, I focus on my needs, and then I go help someone else do the same. So, okay, I'll let you guys go, but I hope that was somewhat helpful. I know some of you guys don't have access to a printer. Like, I don't know how else I don't know how else to tell you. Go to a library. If you don't have a library that works, or you can't get to a library, go make a new neighbor friend. Like, I know like a couple people have said they can't print it because they don't have a printer. Do you have a neighbor who lives like 2 doors down that you could introduce yourself to and say hi and say, hey, do you have a printer? I really need to print something. It's okay. That's why we're humans and we're supposed to interact with people who live next to us. So I really just like, this is not to either of you two. It's more to a couple other people that hopefully will listen to the recording. But please just go print this, find a way, even if you can't get to the library that's 30 minutes from your house or 15 minutes, like find an easier way. There's another way. You just have to find it. Anyway, I will keep sharing like what's going on with this weekend. I've recorded some different videos and just taking notes, but if there's anything you guys would like me to be paying attention to, then like, let me know. I mean, think about it. If you don't know anything yet, you can tell me now, but if you don't know anything that you really want me to pay attention to, this is honestly, it's not really strategies. It's nothing new. It's just mindset. It's just overcoming what's in here. So if there's any like limiting beliefs that you feel like you have a pinpoint on, but you're not really sure how to get past, then tell me what those are, and I can like be listening for you and find something to share with you. Okay.
It was nice to meet you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, thanks.
Okay. All right. You guys are awesome. Have a good